trying to pace your tempo in a conversation on Zoom is terrible. So imagine trying to tempo a song. But I digress. I love that. What was that song? That old school song that you just got done playing?
Angel Among Us by, hold on, give me 1 second, by Vincent Vega. Now, I played that one before, but it's been a couple of months since I played it. So I'm just like, let's drop a slow jam on them this morning. So yeah.
We're feeling that, man. We appreciate it every morning. And I also, I don't necessarily have to. I love the transition of covering these heavy stories, these international news, foreign policy stories, and then transitioning into something that is more tenable. Because honestly, if all we do is stay angry, well, I don't think many of us are going to live much longer. So get us a couple of good dad jokes. But only 2 today, James. Only 2.
I can't make any promises, but I got you.
Now, this next clip we're going to play is not funny, but I am going to make it funny once we're done listening to it. This clip is a mashup by The Recount. It's a new media organization, and so far they've been putting out nothing but really good content. So we want to share this mashup that they put together as it pertains to ivermectin, the horse dewormer medicine that is being promoted by the likes of Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Jimmy Dore, who are all, Alex Jones. We played the clip of Alex Jones taking ivermectin on air. The Recount has put together some reporting on that, and I think it's worth taking.
Over the past month, calls to poison control centers in the U.S. have jumped way up regarding ivermectin. You might know it as horse dewormer, moo juice, or sheep drench, useful for killing parasites in livestock. But despite warnings against it, plenty of people are trying to take it to treat COVID.
We have zero medical training.
This is the dose for 200 pounds.
Of horse. 200 pounds of horse. The stuff is apple flavored because that's what horses like. When podcaster Joe Rogan contracted coronavirus last week,
turns out I got COVID.
He said he was taking
all kinds of meds. Ivermectin. I literally got it from a doctor.
Some doctors are prescribing it. Human prescriptions for ivermectin are now way up, 24 times the pre-pandemic baseline. But the pharmaceutical company behind ivermectin says it's not effective against COVID. The FDA says please stop taking it unless you have parasitic worms or head lice.
I'm not a doctor.
Fortunately, most people aren't seriously harmed by ingesting ivermectin. Just don't take a horse-sized dose of it. What's more dangerous is people skipping the vaccine and then hoping this will work instead.
Now that I've made this decision not to get the vaccine, I started looking around online to find somebody that could give me some ivermectin.
After 4 weeks in the hospital, 61-year-old Phil Valentine died on August 21st. His family says he regretted not getting the vaccine. Some of the research promoting ivermectin as a COVID therapeutic has been rejected. The largest clinical trial was discontinued last month after it was determined ivermectin was no better than a placebo at preventing COVID hospitalization.
No effect whatsoever.
Dr. Pierre Corey, whose own paper was rejected by a scientific journal, makes the kind of bold claims you don't expect from a credible doctor.
A wonder drug. If you take it, you will not get sick.
Though they are the kind of bold claims that get you invited onto Joe Rogan's podcast and Fox News Primetime, where they spread from host to host.
Ivermectin.
Grow larger and wreak havoc on human bodies.
James, man. Now there are 3 studies, and I want to be very particular with my words here. There are 3 studies that I have seen. One of them has been itself, I believe, dismissed, but 2 studies that have not been dismissed that show that ivermectin can cause sterility in men to the tune of 85% of the men. There are 3 different studies that say that. One of them has been rejected, but I'm just for the life of me, there's no study whatsoever that says the vaccine is going to cause you to shoot some blanks. And there's no study that's saying that ivermectin cures anything. I have Phil Valentine's book, the radio host that was just talked about in The Recount. Smart guy. He's now dead. because he tried to use ivermectin versus the vaccine. And I think that is where the biggest threat is, just like the recount said, because people are honestly out here thinking that they can survive by taking ivermectin versus going to get the vaccine. And if any of those studies, if you are going to possibly become sterile over this horse dewormer versus going to get the vaccine, James, I don't know what you do with that level of stupidity, man.
You know, it's one of those things. Like I said yesterday, I know ivermectin is used for if you have ringworm or roundworm, which means that the doses that you're taking is not going to be that much. I want to know exactly, too, and it'd be real good to find out what is the doses that these people are taking to make it cause sterility in men. Like, are you ingesting that much of it that you giving yourself self-castration? Basically.
and far be it from me to intervene with people who are either white supremacists or they are white supremacy adjacent. Far be it from me to intervene in their own white genocide. But at the same time, the people who are contracting COVID-19 because of the kind of ignorance that's being promoted by Fox News, they are spreading it to other people. And others are dying. And so it's like, the absurdity of the moment does warrant some laughter, because these people are really, between catching COVID-19, which causes erectile dysfunction, and ivermectin that possibly causes sterility. I really, it's hilarious. But now, it's 880%. Oh, this is from the poison control. Poison control calls have jumped 880% for the horse dewormer drug ivermectin. It's FDA approved for humans in some cases to treat parasitic worms, but not COVID. 880% increase, man. So even if it's not causing sterility, it's causing a lot of people to get sick.
Yes, Ben. And you notice now everybody, and I want y'all to pay attention. Pay close attention to what you're hearing and what you're seeing now. All these radio hosts and podcast hosts, everybody is saying the exact same thing. Right. They're taking these over-the-counter drugs that they think are going to cure COVID-19, and what happens? They end up going to the hospital, and they end up dying. And everyone is saying the same thing as their last words. I wish I would have gotten a vaccine. Y'all pay attention to that, man. Y'all pay attention. It goes back to my old point. What I said, it's your choice, it's your decision that if you want to get the vaccine or not. Pay attention to what's going on, what's happening to these people right now. Pay attention. It's a whole lot of this going on.
James, I cannot imagine for the life of me dying from this level of stupidity, man. I am fearful of how many people die because of this ignorance spreading COVID-19 to like bus drivers. I'm thinking about those 13. According to the recount, they said it was 15 employees in Miami-Dade County, but NPR said it was 13 employees in Miami-Dade County who died all within the 10-day period of starting school. All 13 were African American. And I know that while it is, yeah, man, like chances are, like any of us who are from the crib, we're going to know somebody who knows somebody who died in that group. But the thing is like, it is the absurdity of the moment that is really letting conservatives get away, and some people who claim to be progressive get away with promoting this thing and it literally being a part of what's causing the spread of COVID-19. Because for every person who thinks ivermectin is going to save them, they are actively probably going to spread this to someone else. So it's not a contained issue. If it was contained only to the ignorance of white supremacy, I'd be like, okay, but it's not. I got one more clip, James, I want to hit before we move on. And it is a clip that is stating the truth that there are variations of ivermectin that can be used by human beings. Let's take a look at that.
Ivermectin, which can and is around the world used to treat and prevent the spread of the coronavirus. It's not some crackpot fish tank cleaner. It's a real drug.
The FDA tweeting, "You are not a horse. You are not a cow. Seriously, y'all.
Stop it.
Ivermectin is not a recommended treatment for COVID-19. It is not a recommended drug to prevent COVID-19.
Ivermectin.
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 And ivermectin.
Ivermectin.
All coming back to some sort of mind control.
Because treating an illness doesn't get your mask on, doesn't get your kids out of school. They don't want to talk about recovery.
Because they're a threat to higher-priced medications and vaccines.
And now you have YouTube censoring Senate testimony of Dr. Corey talking about ivermectin.
It's a really important point that you're making because Google's YouTube removed 2 videos.
And there's a good chance everyone listening at home has never heard of ivermectin because Google has gone about censoring.
They took all of those posts down.
We know that our FDA has in many ways failed us by not allowing for the use of ivermectin.
A miracle drug when it comes to treating COVID-19.
I'm not a medical expert. They haven't even given emergency use authorization for ivermectin.
Taken early, it can mitigate symptoms of COVID-19.
This was a bad week for those who made it their business to bash ivermectin.
It's the new McCarthyism.
If it's extremist to wonder about the origins of COVID, if it's extremist to wonder about the utility of masks outdoors, if it's extremist to wonder about ivermectin as a therapeutic drug, then count me as a radical.
It's from Media Matters. They put that compilation together. So while there is a variation of ivermectin that can be used by humans, as we watch and track these stories, there have been plenty of livestock companies that have had to reject requests to get ivermectin in the horse dewormer format. And James, you said something before we played this clip that I think everyone should really take some time to think about it. How is it that Fox News and all these people on the internet, people who claim to be progressive, there's a lot of people who all of a sudden are now promoting ivermectin as if it is something that they have known about all their lives. And I got a feeling they ain't know about it until somebody sent them an email and say, hey, can you help us promote this?
Yeah.
Because how are they all on the same page all of a sudden? It's wild. It's wild.
This whole thing is just crazy. I was just saying, it's just crazy, man. I'm like trying not to get emotional, bro, because it's just like, are y'all really pushing this rhetoric right now?
Yeah.
This is what we pushing? And like
over
it's all from Fox News. Over the vaccine. So you telling me that you telling people to take a horse dewormer versus getting the vaccine. Like Marquez said in the chat, the vaccine is free. This ivermectin junk, I guarantee you their sales are probably increased 1,000%.
Yep.
And you look at go ahead, bro.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm sure if we search far enough that there's somebody who making some money off of ivermectin high up, involved in Fox News, and there's a company-wide email that went out like, "Hey, this is what we gonna talk about for the next couple weeks. Go ahead and just keep pushing this, keep pushing that ivermectin stuff." And somebody's pockets is just growing.
Which brings us back to the frontline doctors. I don't know if you have those images from yesterday, Dwayne, but it was the doctors that stood in front. I forgot which building they were standing in front of this on this photo, but these are the doctors who are actively promoting ivermectin. They have a website where you can sign up for a consultation, and then they will prescribe it for you. There are rumors or rumblings, not rumors. There are rumblings of a class action lawsuit against this group because while they're taking your money to give you a consultation, to give you a prescription for ivermectin, they're not even showing up to the consultations. So not only are they trying to sell you snake oil if you manage to go through their process, but they're getting you. They're hitting people across the head. They're charging people $100 per evaluation and not delivering them. And I want to put emphasis here because this is the same group that promoted the idea of the woman on the screen now of the demon sperm and sleeping with devils in your dreams and all that kind of foolishness, because I need people to understand that just because somebody puts on a lab coat doesn't mean that they are not without some sense of ignorance. Like let's be real. A lab coat does not cover up conspiracy theories.
Say that, Ben. Say that, brother. Because I can go get a lab coat right now. I ain't got nobody's doctor experience.
Hey, bro, we should do a segment. You and I should do a segment where we throw on a lab coat and we imitate what these people are saying, because these are the same people who promoted hydroxychloroquine. Remember the people who were dying? They were getting, and this is the thing, like, people were getting fish tank versions of hydroxychloroquine and dying from it. But this is what Fox News was telling them they should take versus the vaccine. Somebody, Dwayne, you're right. Somebody is making a whole lot of money off of this, and it's costing a lot of lives. And this group that you see on your screen, the frontline doctors, those are the doctors who Joe Rogan specifically mentioned. They are the ones who gave him the prescription, according to that clip that we heard yesterday. And these are the same people who believe in demon sperm, sleeping with demons in your sleep, and hydroxychloroquine. And they are also very, very strong supporters of negative 45 Donald Trump. So, yeah, if you guys want to follow them to sterility, by all means, help yourself.
Right.
That said, I want to go to a clip that we talked about yesterday. This is from Right Wing Watch. They're a fabulous organization that keeps an eye on the evangelicals. It's a very hard word to say, evangelicals. The evangelicals who are promoting a level of derangement and bigotry in their churches every single Sunday. We played a clip earlier this week of Dave Daubenmire saying that he was going to team up and raise $100 million, and he intends to do it to badger corporations into funding his culture war. We have an update on how they plan to use that money, but I want to first remind you of his justification for raising that kind of money in the first place. Let's take a listen in.
This isn't some fly-by-night, flimsy little thing we're doing, okay? This is big. And one of the directions we're going to go as well is we're going to find out everybody that gave money to BLM, every major business donor that gave money to BLM, and we're going to go ask them about their Office of Diversity. Aren't Christians diverse? You're giving money to BLM? Are you giving any money to any Christian causes? Are you guys anti-Christ? Aren't Christians part of the diversity plan and the diversity movement? We're going to badger those folks into funding our war as well. That's our plan. We're going to put this money in the hands of warriors. And I'm believing that 30 days from today, we're going to have $100 million. The left will never know what hit them. Okay. That's the first clip. James, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, and he's right, because let's talk about it. Because some of the work that I do, I hear and know a lot of stuff, okay? So some of these companies, I already know one of them that is used to donate to, let's say, Christian belief organizations on this money that they get. Right. There's one company in particular that actually stopped and actually started donating because the LGBTQI community was upset because who these people were donating to. But these same Christian organizations that he's talking about, Salvation Army being one of them, doesn't support or believe in Christian values, air quotes, that marriage should be between a man and a woman. So these organizations getting all this money and everything, he's right. I give him that. He probably is going to get that $100 million, but no problem. But
now, James, before you finish your thought, you got to hear how they're going to spend it. At least they're honest in their grifting. They are extremely honest. This next clip is Sherry Tippini, and she's partnered with this guy, and she breaks down how they plan to keep 20% of $100 million. Play the clip.
It is an LLC, and the donations are not tax deductible. I think that's really important. We're not doing the 501c3 and having to keep track and send back things so that we can get a benefit from the government to raise money for good. Yep. We're raising money for good. Like, it came kind of a tagline from Brett who said, who's funding good? And that's sort of the tagline of our organization, who's funding good? And how we're going to be able to do that. What we're planning to do with this is that we're going to have transparency on the donations. About 20% of the incoming donations will be for salaries for us, and we're going to be hiring a whole bunch of people and basic business deductions. I mean, your rent, your phones, things like that are your basic legitimate business deductions. So out of that 100% that comes in, about 20% will be salaries and basic business deductions. Then our plan is, of that remaining 80%, we want to donate in the terms of grants, 90% of that on a monthly basis.
What are you going to do with the 10% of the 80%, sis? It's not good enough that y'all already getting $20 million off the top for salaries. Bigotry is a hell of a career path in this country, man.
Somebody said in the chat, easy, evangelical grifting.
Anytime people like that start talking numbers and throwing percents in there, they just doing that to fool the people who don't really know math.
Absolutely, Dwayne.
But here's the thing, Dwayne. Like, getting 20% of 100 million is kind of easy math. That's $20 million. Like, do they really expect people? And actually, let me answer my own question. Yes, they fully expect their audience to be dumb enough to help them raise $100 million. And James, you might be right. They might get it. All in the name of Christian revolution, right? And of course, you and I haven't even addressed, and we might wait for the next segment to address the underlying accusation here that anyone who is not their white type of Jesus is not a Christian at all. And he asked a question, the Dave Dubbenmeyer, Meyer, or whatever, he asked a question in his clip that we just played saying, are we anti-Christ? I'm anti-white Christ, white Republican gun-toting Jesus. Yeah, I'm definitely anti that because Jesus I serve is black AF. James, take us to a break, man.
Take it, Ben.
My Jesus hair is like is woolly as my beard, bro.
It's woolly. Hello. Like steel wool.
Feet with like bronze iron. I mean bronze. Like come on. What white person we know? Love y'all, but what white person we know with bronze feet? But anyway,
I know that's somebody saying. I do know one of them with woolly hair. That was my dog, the painter.
Bob. What's his name? What was my man, the painter? He definitely had the woolly hair, though. I give you that much.
Dang, I can't remember his name. Bob Ross.
My sister dressed up as him for one Halloween. I'm like, you know what? That brother might have had a little melanin in his skin, but I digress.
Bob Ross probably had bronze feet because he was probably walking around outside in the woods with no shoes on.
With no shoes on, bro.
It was a perm. It was a perm. I saw the documentary. His son admitted it. It was a perm.
James, we got voices coming from everywhere this morning. Listen, we got a lot more news to cover. We got a lot more real serious stuff to cover. But before we do that, DJ exclusive, brighten up our world, brother. It's in your hands. We'll be back after this.
What'd you say, Ben? You want to hear a dad joke? Okay, cool. No, I'm just playing. I'm not going to hit y'all yet. But we will get into our... before I say... Okay, that's it. We'll get our Patreon and everything. Tomorrow, I know David is a busy man. Busy man. We work David to the bone, so he didn't get a chance to get the Patreon list today. But anyway, y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Like it or not, it's coming up next with Rebecca Azor. Read a couple of comments here that we had. Let's see. The Chicken Fried Dragon said that apple flavored tube of ivermectin is $10. That's terrible. That is terrible. Okay, Lee Spanner says there is nothing like being dumb. The smokers, the drinkers, and heart disease diabetics worry about the vaccine. Thank you, Lee Spanner, for that. All right, y'all, make sure that y'all stay tuned. Get my dad jokes list going on. Get a couple of songs going for you as well, too. Make sure that y'all stay tuned. Sun Queen, this is Strike a Pose by NHBD NBHD.
Make it work. Make it work. Make it work. Strike a pose. Make it work. Make it work. Strike a pose. Strike a pose, girl. Strike a pose, girl. I could spend it on you, freeze you up, you cold, girl. Put you in positions, curling up your toes, girl.
$10 could be gas. It could be regular gas or gas.
If I win, she win. We count the minutes together.
Thank you.
If it's real, it's real. This'll be forever. If it's hot or cold, get through any weather. If it's all I know, together we're better.
Ooh, that was a good one. Let me read that one. Chicken Fried Dragon also said, bro, you already don't pay taxes. Now you want more money? How about we tax churches after the first 250K? Hello? Lee Spanner again. The hatred that Christian espouse is unbelievable. But I guess the Confederates losing the Civil War and then passing their hate over to the evangelicals is even more amazing. Y'all better say that. Y'all saying some stuff this morning. Good morning, everybody. Again, Y'all make sure that y'all stay tuned. Mars Reese, I'm upset too when he said a perm. I don't know if Dwayne, not Dwayne. And Dave know what he's talking about, but yeah, there is a documentary on Netflix that everybody needs to check out about Bob Ross. I definitely want to watch it. It was like a perm, like big perm, like from Friday.
Is this what you want now?
Go with that.
Right, Dwayne, a perm. Savage Sweetheart, good morning to you.
Is this what you want now? Or is it because you can't forget her? I can't keep pretending it's not getting to me. It's never ending. Can't give you what you need.
According to SLP, me too.
You're misbehaving. Yeah, it's getting to me. It's never ending. You can give anything, so you can go, go, go. Go, 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 go. Yeah, so I can focus. I just need a
That's right, y'all. I like that. Y'all drop y'all words of affirmation this morning on this Thursday morning in your chat. What's your words of affirmation this morning? Y'all go ahead and drop them in the chat. Mine is...
I just need to focus on myself.
I can do everything
This is what I want.
once I believe in myself.
And yeah, I'm waiting for something.
Yes. I can do anything. There we go. I can do anything because I believe in myself. Period.
This is what I want now. No, I want
Drop your affirmations down in the chat, man. Let us know what your affirmations are for you this Thursday morning. And we'll make sure we get Ben's, Rebecca's, Dwayne's, and David's by the end of the show, y'all. Y'all stay tuned.
It's not getting to me. It's never ending. Can't give you what you need. Oh, no, no. You're misbehaving. Yeah, it's getting to me. It's never ending. You can give anything, so you can go, go, go. Go, 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 go. Yeah, so I can focus. I just need to focus on myself. Oh, you better go, go, go.
Good morning, Mama and Daddy. Good morning. Love y'all. Good morning, Q. Love y'all.
I just need to focus on myself. Yeah, so you can go, go, go. Go, 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 go. So I can focus. I just need to focus on myself.
Anne-Marie says, I am stronger than my fears. Yes, you are, Anne-Marie. Yes, you are. I always believe that. Mom says, nothing isn't possible. I can. Amen, Mama. Okay, here we go. Dwayne, what's the difference between a hippo and a zippo? What's the difference between a hippo and a zippo?
I'm not sure.
One is really heavy and the other's a little lighter. Get it? A little lighter. You almost had it, David, I'm sure.
When I get you back, oh yeah.
Right.
When I get you back, oh yeah.
Y'all know I ain't got no sense, man. Come on. All right, Nat A says her affirmation is to be more vocal. Let's see. Brother Luke Kang says. Brother Luke Kang said his affirmation is on my mama, on my hood. I look fly. I look good. Amen, Luke Kang. That's my dog right there. Brother Chuck Diesel. Good morning, Brother Chuck. Rosie Bean says, be your own advocate because no one else is going to do it for you. Amen. Amen to that. that, Rosamine. That's a word right there. Yeah, Hustler, don't you run away from me.
No, I don't want to lose you. Baby, don't go.
Peter Low Frequency, good morning.
When I get you back,
Strip the Dragon, thank you. This, see, y'all like that one. Y'all like that one. Okay.
When I get you back, oh yeah.
Julie Van Ostel says, I may have been a victim at various times in my life, but I refuse to be a victim in the way I live my life. Man, I love y'all. I appreciate that. Y'all got some decent, good affirmations, man. Really love y'all. I really appreciate that. Anna Hart, good morning. Infinite Content says, my affirmation is bring black Air Force energy to everything.
No, I don't want.
And if you don't know what the Black Air Force is, y'all better look it up. That's real good, some good stuff right there.
Get you back, oh yeah.
And Truth the Dragon says affirmation, I think I can, I know I can. Hell yes. Shout out to Truth the Dragon, man. We appreciate y'all. I appreciate all y'all. Love y'all, mean it, man.
There's no one else I'd rather be with. When I get you back, oh yeah. When I get you back, oh yeah. When I get you back, oh yeah. When I get you back, oh yeah.
Shay says, let's do XOXXO. Bob says affirmation, don't put off your dreams because others think you can't achieve them. Dope. Yes. Really believe that. Tiger says, I will be able to support my family with my creativity. My gosh, I can't talk this morning. Tiger, you absolutely right. You really can. Laura Strata says it's never too late to have been what one could have been. Absolutely. Shay, lastly, I think I can, I know I can, and doggone it, people like me. Shay, you're absolutely right, because I like you too, and you my dog. I appreciate you. Y'all, it's time for Like It or Not, so y'all stay tuned. Oh, well, welcome back to the screen, my brother from another mother, Benjamin Dixon, y'all. You like how I recover from that?
James, I have one more story before we get to Like It or Not. That's okay. On me. That's on me. I want to take us to Virginia. I want to take us to Virginia, where the Supreme Court there ruled that it was acceptable for the state to remove the image and the statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Now, it was erected in 1890, and it has been there, but it has been the bane of the existence of all the people who are descendants of those of us who were the descendants of slaves, and those of us who understand what the Confederacy is, because it's still here. They still want to rise. They have actively been opposing this monument of white supremacy. Let's take a look at this clip from NBC News as they break down how that statue was broken down. This was a monumental event. One of the best things about this, James, you could see the contracting company that got the contract to, the construction company rather, that got the contract to take down the statue was a black company. And so I know that is a wonderful thing for us, but it is certainly insult to injury to white supremacy as they see their hero, their venerated fallen hero, the loser of the war. We don't celebrate losers around here. They got to take that down. So the insult to injury is that black folks got paid to take down this monument, man. This is a beautiful sight to see. And go ahead.
Just go, what white man got these statues in their backyard? I bet it's like a monument full of removed Confederate statues just chilling in somebody's backyard. Some white supremacist mansions like, yeah, I got all the goddamn statues right here in my yard.
Yeah, this is not legacy. This is about heritage, not hate. So salutations and solidarity with all people who oppose white supremacy in every form, in any image. May they all come down, and may they all come down while giving just a little bit of reparations in the form of the construction company that got the contract to take this down.
They should have accidentally dropped that thing.
That would.
I was hoping that the same thing. I'm like, I wish I was got a wrecking ball and just knock that thing over.
So that said, I am also reminded of, this is in Virginia, this is in Richmond, Virginia, but I'm also reminded of the protesters who stood against the Confederate monuments in Charlottesville, and their sacrifice, particularly that I'm thinking of our comrade Heather Heyer, who died back in 2017 as she actively protested against the white supremacists that marched in Charlottesville, the ones that Donald Trump said were good people on both sides. That was a moment that really was a flashpoint, a catalyst that led to this as well. So solidarity with all the members of Democratic Socialists of America, and solidarity with the memory of Heather Heyer and those individuals who stood up against the fascists who marched in Charlottesville, Virginia, some 4 years ago now. And their efforts were not in vain, because we're seeing the fruits of their efforts all around the country as these monuments come down. So I thought that.
Shout out real quick to Hollywood 2000. My bad, Ben. Let's hit this dang on Zoom thing. Shout out to Hollywood 2000, who says, thank you for your super chat. First of all, it says, we've been fighting for a long time to get it removed. Black Power Fist. Solidarity. We appreciate that.
Solidarity for sure. That said, one other quick story before we are joined by Chuck Modiano. He is a independent journalist in Washington, D.C., who actively has covered every single night of protests that have not stopped since the George Floyd protest of last year. He's going to be joining us and updating us with all sorts of details about the ongoing protests. And Rebecca Azor she's going to join us as well for that conversation, because I think one thing, James, people don't realize is that, whether or not the mainstream media is covering the protest, people have been active around the country every single day. And I think part of the reason they don't want that in the mainstream media is because if the world knew how many people were still protesting to get justice for black people, the protest would be a lot larger. You know what I mean, James? Like they have to make sure we're not actively talking about it. And I think that's part of the strategy. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, man. You're right. Because if a lot of people knew the protests that were really going on, there would definitely be a lot more involvement. But you're right. It hasn't stopped at all. Still ongoing all across the country, different cities, everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we have to continue, right? We absolutely have to continue, because as we looked at the incident with Ahmaud Arbery, right? We look at Breonna Taylor. We look at so many people who have been killed by this system who have yet to receive justice. That tells me that there's absolutely no reason for us to stop demanding that there be no peace until we have justice. No justice, no peace. And so I'm excited to be joined by Chuck Modiano as soon as he is available. That said, I want to go to one more dose of our evangelicals, and it is Hank Kuhneman, as he declares that questioning his standing as a prophet over his false election prophecies is, quote unquote, grievous to God, and that continuing to believe that Trump will be reinstated is a test to, quote, see really who is on the Lord's side right now. I want to repeat what he's saying. If you are not on the side of Trump, then you are not on the side of the Lord. Y'all, we got to confront these preachers who get tax deductions to preach this kind of stuff every single Sunday. Let's run that clip from Right Wing Watch.
God knew ahead of time that they were going to do this. So anybody out there, if you are saying the election wasn't stolen, that it's the big 45 lie, you need to absolutely get a clue. You really do. You're wanting to not believe it on purpose. And that is grievance to God, because God already said ahead of time, this is what they're going to do. There are some things, the way God operates is not subject to man's events, calendar, expectations. Some things, as he's looked at as the Alpha and the Omega, he's looked at things by way of events. So that means it's not subject to our opinion. It's not subject to certain things, of being able to change it. It's going to happen, and there's certain things that need to play out. And what God's doing is testing us to see really who's on the Lord's side right now.
Doc, James, we're going to take a quick break so that we can bring in our next guest. But, Doc, if what is required for me to be on the Lord's side is to be on the side of Donald Trump, then y'all go ahead and get me a reserved seat in hell. I'm good.
Amen, brother. Gasoline draws on. I'm good.
Because let the record reflect and always show that I would much rather spend some time in hell with Black Jesus than any white supremacist. If heaven is full of white supremacist evangelicals,
man,
y'all send me to purgatory. I'm good.
Hey, if it is, I'd rather stay here on earth, bro.
Facts. Because I ain't trying to be in heaven looking over my shoulder for who trying to lynch me. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we got Like It or Not, Rebecca Azor and Chuck Modiano. We'll be back right after this.
I could really use a change of scenery. Yeah, everybody smoking all the greenery.
All right, y'all, make sure you stay tuned. Like It or Not is starting up next with our sister Rebecca Azor, and Chuck Modiano will be joining us as well. To me, I'll make sure that you stay tuned.
I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Pills to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you. From the inside.
Kareem Ransom, good morning to you.
So right now, say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time, it's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time, it's my time.
The way men over there dancing, ain't it?
It's your time. Cheers to all the haters, cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny.
I heard that note too,
from behind me, but I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you.
Shout out to Marquez for your super chat. Thank you, Marquez. Marquez said, a friend of mine went bald years ago, but still carries around an old comb. He just can't part with it.
Just say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm free, ain't nobody take me here and now.
Marquez for the dad joke this morning. Thank you, Marquez. I appreciate you.
It's my time to ride.
Elizabeth Lanza, good morning to you. Hey, man, shout out to everybody that's on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, where you stream from. Good morning to y'all. Shout out to y'all, okay? You need to come visit my Twitch family. I'll come see y'all soon, all right?
It's my time. It's my time to ride it now. It's your time. If you're on the bus, say yeah.
Tiger, you know what to do, Tiger. Go ahead, shut that.
You gotta walk, say yeah. Everybody's going somewhere. So young or old, I really don't care. Life has never really been fair. So put your fist up in the air. Say yeah. I'm young.
Exactly.
Ain't nobody take
XOXXO Bob, this is Still Fly by Rebel Day. Still Fly by Rebel Day.
It's my time. It's my time. time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time, it's my time, it's my time to ride it out. It's your time, oh.
John, they do. I think the song plays so much, it does sound like Ben, doesn't it?
Go and try your luck. Test me in again, we let it rain. Please don't start us up. Got that black and white, that yin and yang. Mr. Officer, please don't search us, we don't got a thing. Tell her park it up. Then that be poking out them jeans. Up and sparking up. Like the fireworks, I keep the flame. Heard you barking up.
Patricia, good morning, Patricia.
I'm charging up. They can't keep up, got them looking drained. Now they walking up.
What's to be good? Good morning.
Pull up and I'm swerving. If a try to holler, she gon' curve him. We came from under rugs like a Persian. We been staying in our lane, ain't no merging. Rapping like I'm turban. Yeah, these all square like Irvin.
Sylvia Jones, good morning.
Grew up in the hood, no suburbans.
Damn it, Bobby 420, good morning to you. That's literally his latest screen name, y'all, okay? All right, y'all, now it's time to get the thing started. Like it or not, it's starting now. It's about to go down.
Like it or not, with Benjamin Dixon, starts now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. And welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth.
And not care who doesn't like it. I'm Rebecca Azor.
And I'm Benjamin Dixon.
And I'm James Bubba Williams.
And we're joined by none other than our brother from another mother, Chuck Modiano, who is an independent journalist who covers and has been covering at every single stop the ongoing protest in Washington, D.C. Chuck, how are you this morning, brother?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. And thanks for being one of the only spaces that covers Washington, D.C. Everybody comes from all over the country to the nation's capital, but nobody actually talks about what's happening in D.C.
I love that. I love that we can be that for you. I mean, that's one of our goals, is to be voices for the people who aren't heard the most, or for the places where people think people aren't doing anything. And there's so much happening in DC. You are one of those people to keep the camera on, to keep the mic on for the people that feel like nobody's listening. So thanks to you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. And then, as a matter of fact, Chuck, let's jump right into it because I know your time is limited this morning. We have two clips. Tell us about this first clip and as it pertains to the ongoing protest and the fight for justice.
Is this Antoine Gilmore?
Mm-hmm. Antoine Gilmore.
Yeah. So there were two more protests for Antoine Gilmore. First of all, yesterday was the funeral. I attended the funeral yesterday. I didn't put anything out, but that was happening. And on both Thursday and Friday, there were two more protests. One that was very family-centered, and young children were out there of the family holding signs and talking. And then Friday, there was a larger protest for Antoine Gilmore. And I think when we're talking about the clip and some of the themes that come out is that you can't separate the murder of Antoine Gilmore from the gentrification that goes on. Now, I could also talk about the protest that has been going on that we're looking at as well, which is a protest against WMATA. And what that protest is about there is a new proposed law that would make it much easier for police to arrest people on the DC Metro, and just arrest, not convict. And so that's real important. And that happened on Tuesday night. And there was a campaign to talk to people on the Metro and let them know about it. And a lot of that was led by Harriet's Dreams. And Harriet's Dreams has done some incredible work in DC, not just the Nelly's protest against Nelly's Sports Bar, but real community work. getting in and talking to D.C. citizens to let them know the laws that might be passed in the middle of the night.
Chuck, there's a lot.
Wow.
I see 3 issues that are intersecting all right there in Washington, D.C., and quite honestly, they're intersecting all around the country. We covered, and thank you for coming last week and telling us more about Antoine Gilmore. But before we run that Antoine Gilmore clip, can you tell us and remind the audience of what happened to that young man?
Yeah, so Antoine Gilmore was in his car, and he was asleep. And the police rolled up on his car, and there were about 9 police officers there, and he was startled in his sleep. And his car begins to move forward, and there are laws. You cannot shoot into a moving vehicle. And yet, like previous people who've been killed in D.C., Terrence Sterling comes to mind, some others, the officer shot into a moving vehicle, 10 shots, and killed Antoine Gilmore. And there's simply no reason for that. He was not a threat in any way, shape, or form. So the community has come out to say, we're tired of this. And here's where the tie into gentrification comes. When you start to look at all of these murders, what happens is where he fell asleep in the car was in the wrong place in D.C., meaning usually it's where white people live, where black people used to live in that spot. So we can't separate the gentrification from the murder, as Jackie is going to explain in much better, more articulate ways.
And that's Jacqueline Luckman of By Any Means Necessary, a wonderful program, and we hope to have her on this show soon, too. Let's run that clip of Sister Jackie breaking it down.
DC police have taken another black life for no fucking reason, other than that black man was in a gentrified area of the city where he shouldn't have been, just hanging out scaring the white people. Where we are right now is one of the most gentrified areas of the city. This was a working class and poor neighborhood full of black folks, working folks, black and Latinx folks. Look at it now. It's being gentrified, gray and buildings with no character. The soul has been stripped away from this city by gentrification. So the white people with the money and the young millennials with the money have been ushered in, and we are the excess population. So every time one of us is in a place where it makes the gentrifiers uncomfortable, they call the cops and they criminalize our very existence in a city that was ours. So we're here demanding justice for another young black man killed by racist police simply because he was his existence was a threat to one of these gentrifying folks.
So you see no distinction between the gentrification policies and the murder of Antoine Gilmore?
No, there's not only no distinction, the connection is direct. Because, look, cops are never our friends, but this area used to be mostly black, mostly working class. We didn't call the cops because somebody was sleeping in their car.
Right.
Who does that? I'll tell you who does that. People who don't have a sense of community and have no respect for the people who were here before they were. So not only does gentrification have a connection, but it's a direct result of the increase in racist police violence against the communities that are pushed out of these formerly working class and poor areas of cities that have been gentrified.
Thank you.
I love how she said there's no distinction, but there's a pure connection. And that was education for me. It's like almost that we knew this, we seen this, we felt this, but we couldn't word it this way. Yeah. Literally, gentrification is leading to the death of many black people. And I hate to put it like that, but I love to put it like that. Okay. Now we have to understand that when she said when there's no sense of community in these black and brown areas where we're used to people being tired and sleeping in their car, we ain't asking about their business. We probably know the auntie, the cousin, the sister, the brother, the niece, the nephew. We're going to go and tell the family member, I done saw such and such in the car by the stop
in the car sleep. Right.
Okay? You know, that's what we're going to do. So they'll pick him up or they'll just be like, he'll be fine or whatever. Give us, where everybody go to sleep and call it a day. Next morning, we move on with our life, but not the nosy neighbors, right? Not these new people that are coming into areas, not respecting the areas or the people that were there before them. So they feel entitled. And this is what we see a lot of times in white supremacy. We see this in the Karens and the Kens who are demanding respect for areas that they don't even respect. They don't even know the history of. They don't even take an opportunity to get to know their neighbors, or anything like that. They just believe I've moved in here. I have all the rights and you shouldn't even be parked or sitting in front of this stoop, or you shouldn't be sleeping in front of your car because that's dangerous to me. And that literally is something that is taking away people's lives. That simple thing. Gentrification is literally causing the loss of people's lives. Make it make sense. And then the train thing, people getting arrested. And we know those people that are out there protesting are mostly what? People of color, Black and brown folks, okay? Out there in DC. So when they make those kind of laws and things like that and put those in place and saying, even if you're arrested, and we know a lot of people are getting arrested just for protesting, just for walking, just for any little thing, right? And if you get arrested, you can't ride the train. The train system is a lot of times the only way people can get around. So this all has to do with gentrification. These white folks coming into these areas being afraid. If you say you were arrested once, you are dangerous, you are a thug. All those things are attached to you, just like that man who was sleeping in his car. Right? Antoine, who was sleeping in his car. They didn't know nothing about him. They didn't hear him speak. Nothing. But because he was sleeping in his car, because he was a Black man, he was dangerous and he was a thug. A problem.
That's terrible. And you're right, Rebecca. So right. This gentrification is all through Atlanta right now. And everything that's going on, it's community. So once you have these people moving into neighborhoods where, okay, y'all were never here before, now y'all are scared and y'all are calling the cops about everything. It never was back that in the day. You see, like you said, if you see somebody sleeping in their car, hey, your son down there sleeping in the car, you might just want to tap on the window, make sure he good.
That's right.
Now, they're going to call on this brother and end up getting shot or killed. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Brother,
I mean, that's exactly right. And the more DC turns white because the rents are just through the roof, the developers are just making everything unaffordable. What happens is the laws start to change to protect white property. And we keep seeing that. White property over Black lives keeps happening in DC. It's actually, I believe, it's crossed over 50%, white 55%. So not only do you see the direct connection to a murder of Antoine Gilmore, you see these laws like the Noise Act. Well, who's the Noise Act again? Well, that's against go-go music, which is part of the soul of DC. And so you have people calling the police because they're hearing go-go music. So they are trying to rip the soul and culture out of DC and then criminalize that very culture. And everything we see is a part of that, whether it's the Noise Act, whether it's the murder of Antoine Gilmore, whether it's the new subway laws, whether it was the Nelly's protests that went on for weeks. They're all tied to gentrification, and that's a larger discussion. It's a more complex discussion, and I think no one nailed that quite the way Jackie Lukman did, and you better have her on your show because she's amazing.
That was going to be the next thing I said. Like, can we please get her on here?
Yeah. Get her on here. Send her over here, Chuck. Tell her we want her here on the show because she gives it to us literally black and white.
Yeah, and Environmental Coffee House in the chat says she's a personal friend of hers too as well. So I'm like, oh yeah, let's get these connections going on. We need to come on over.
Yes.
That's on me, man. I've known Jackie for she's been dope for some years. So we're going to expedite that invitation to have her on. Chuck, this second clip, man, these people. And Rebecca, you pointed to it, and Chuck, you've already spoken about it. Explain this law that they're trying to pass that's going to take away anyone who was arrested, their ability to ride the metro. And I believe it's called the metro in D.C., right? If my memory serves me right.
Yeah, we call it the metro in D.C. As a native New Yorker, it took me a minute to go from subway to metro.
Subway.
But it's metro. What do you got, MARTA in Atlanta? I don't even know what that is.
I call everything MARTA in every city.
MARTA ain't even real.
It's not. No, when I went to Atlanta, I was like, nobody's even on this MARTA thing. It makes no sense to me.
Hey, man, I wanted you to introduce the clip, not clown our city, bro.
Okay, so basically they're trying to pass a new law that you can be suspended up to a year just for being arrested on the subway. And I don't want to get into the legal details of it, but what the protesters, and led by Harriet Dreams, are against is that every time there is an expansion of police power, there's an expansion of police abuse of that power. And when you can get arrested and not have due process, then anyone is subject to arrest at the police whim. And we've seen that before in other cases. But I think we could cue that clip.
Let's run it.
We are here to oppose the WMATA vote that will criminalize people that have been arrested on metros and buses. So basically this vote, if you are arrested, you won't be able to ride for 12 months. We know that's an environmental justice issue. It's a racial justice issue. It's a class issue. People rely on the metros and public transportation to get to school, doctor's appointments, work, and this will disproportionately affect low-income Black and brown communities. So we're out here to say no to that.
I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Just arrested?
Yep. There's no due process. There's no trying to prove your case, nothing.
We're handing out the brochures to passengers.
Our objective is basically to let all of the Metro riders in the city know about this ban that's about to go into effect if on Thursday the WMATA Board of Directors chooses to pass this vote without any civilian intervention.
Essentially criminalizing being on the Metro, using public transit, and we're telling them to vote no.
That vote is on Thursday, potentially?
Yes, indeed. It's been pushed back once, and maybe we can get them to completely kill this but if it doesn't get killed, it's on Thursday. Folks A did not know about it, and when they did find out about it, they were furious. Why were they furious? Because everyone knows cops don't help us. All they're gonna do is and we know, and WMATA knows, who they're gonna with. It's gonna be Black people, it's gonna be unhoused people, and basically the police are there to make sure that basic survival is not possible.
Be clear, it's not a conviction, it's just an arrest.
Just an arrest, right? Like we have due process, right? Theoretically, that's not just for rich people. So all of us people who may have negative encounters with the cops in any way, shape, or form, you lose your due process.
So just simply an arrest, not being convicted of anything, you lose your due process and you lose your ability to ride the Metro. Help us. And is that Thursday date today? Is today the day they're supposed to vote on this?
Well, here's the good news. Everyone did flood the phone lines yesterday, as was asked by Harriet's Dreams, that was on the brochure, and that vote has now been postponed because of that action. So it's pushed back. It's not a win yet, but it's a delay, and we'll take the delay. We'll take the delay. Can we just very good local action, and this is what's been going on in D.C. But yes, the language is very vague. So when you use vague language like guns-related charge, weapons-related charge, things like that can be abused, and we've seen that abused. And let me give you an example from the protest that could maybe be used in any variety. When I was covering protests, there was an assault on a police officer charge when someone shot fireworks and it happened to be by an officer or grazed an officer. And anyone in the vicinity could have been charged and was charged with an assault on police officer charge. They may not have even shot the fireworks. So this is one example of the backdrop of what a lot of the protesters know about the D.C. police and their abuse of laws. And if your language is vague and if you do not have due process, they know that expansion of police power will just be more police abuse. And that's really what this is about, and getting in the community and fighting back.
I love it. I love the fact that there was, while it's not a victory, it is definitely a step in the right direction, in solidarity with everyone who called in, because that doesn't just happen. Absolutely. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, there was a Zoom meeting, and about at least 50 people left messages saying, no, I live in Ward 4. I don't want this. And what happened when Harriet's Dreams, just to give you backdrop, when earlier in the week, they polled over 170 people on the Metro and talked to them, and they found out that over 80% had no idea this law was even going to be passed. So they put in some legwork.
Wow. That is that the fact that they would try to do that without people even knowing about it is not surprising, but it is something that I think every city needs to be cognizant of. These folks are not playing games with us. They are most certainly trying to snatch our rights away. And if nothing else, the effect of this is the chilling effect. We talk about it all the time. They will put out a law or a proposed law just to intimidate people, to stop them from protesting. And I think that if nothing else, that's what this is.
That's exactly what this is. I see when I first heard of it, like, I thought simply this is going to be something that really affects people who take the train, system primarily for work or whatever. And especially those who are out there doing the activism work and things like that. If you're arrested one time, regardless of what the reason may be, the fact that you won't be able to take the train, to me, is weird. Like, they're punishing you, like, because they're afraid of you, right? Like, and I'm telling you, this is literally something that is to attack Black and brown folks specifically. And that's why I got the problem with it. Like, these people are moving into these areas or moving into this place and causing these kind of stupid laws to be put in place, or, to happen right under the nose of people while people are doing work, right? But people are fighting for real causes. They're like, yeah, we don't want these people on the train with us. Just because you're afraid. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't get how that gives you the right to tell somebody they can't get on the train because you scared. How did that even come to play? Who went up there and had that conversation and thought that was okay? It's all dumb, but thankfully, we have people who are on the ground. And I know sometimes it feels like things aren't working, but this is a primary example. I know it's a delay, but a delay can lead to a win. A win being this thing gets thrown out and not even considered. And that's what we're hoping for. And that's all because people flooded those lines and they voiced their concerns. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Chuck, I want you to get the last word. But Rebecca, you said something. Do we know where this came from in the first place? Answer that for us if you can, and then give us the last word.
I don't know. I don't know the inception of the law. I do know people have said it would also be used against the unhoused to clean up the metro. We've heard that as well, and that's a huge concern. But to the protesters, to Harriet Dreams, and some of the work that's going on in D.C., one thing I love about the D.C. protesters and documenting them is that they focus real locally, whether it's Nellie's Sports Bar, whether it is the Metro. And yes, there is protests against national issues, of course. But the local protests are important because when you look at the discussion on the national level, when people are on the left wing, it's always a national discussion. Like, we're talking about Joe Biden and F Joe Biden, by the way, but we're talking about Joe Biden. Cancel that student debt, by the way. Excuse me.
Say that, Chuck. Say that.
Hey, man. Sally Mae after me to this day. Go ahead, Chuck.
So the right wing, they focus locally. Whether they're in power or they're not in power, they're focusing locally, changing laws locally. And what does the left wing do? We get online, and don't get me wrong, we got to talk about it, but we don't hit the streets the same way the right wing hits the streets about their issues and changing policies locally. So in D.C., I really appreciate that that's where the focus is and that we can do both. And that needs to happen in every city.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amen.
Modiano,
yes.
Independent journalist, rebel rouser, and our brother from another mother. Tell everybody how they can get up with you.
You can catch me on Twitter at ChuckMoD1. And I've said it a few times, but I'm just so proud of it. Go check out at Harriet's Dreams, too, because you could really find out what's going on and keep focused on the D.C. Metro and Antoine Gilmore and more.
Thanks so much for the work you're doing, brother.
Chuck.
And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chuck.
Hey, thanks for having me. As always, appreciate you looking out for D.C.
Hey, man.
I love the energy. I love the energy.
Mamba wings and the go-go going. We're going to always hold it down for D.C., man.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Thanks so much. Rebecca, not too far from D.C., Richmond, Virginia. Robert E. Lee, he gone.
He gone. They done removed his little statue, monument, whatever you want to call it or whatever.
Robert E. Lee had a little statue removed.
Yeah,
we don't celebrate losers around here.
Yeah, they removed it from its pedestal. And this is a ruling that happened in the Supreme Court, Virginia Supreme Court last week. They unanimously that the state could remove the statue. They voted for that to be removed, saying values change and public policy changes too in a democracy. At least they understand that, Texas wouldn't know what to do with something like this. But at least Virginia, who we've seen in a lot of racist things front and center, finally, and the causes of most of those racist things that we've seen front and center were because of stuff like this damn monument. Remember? So now we've got it removed. Oh, they did all of that for the thing to still be gone. Because somebody, please make it make sense. They did all of that marching under Donald Trump, saying that these monuments were important, and that they stood for something, and that was their history. They did all of that marching, remember? And they were holding up those Walmart tiki sticks, looking like KKK runners in the night.
Khaki.
In khaki pants and collared shirts, coming straight from the college up the street in dad outfits. Okay. They were marching in the name of these type of monuments for Donald Trump. And they still took that monument down. I mean, it makes no sense.
Jane, now, it's about to go down.
Definitely. And now we're here at a place, and I think that this is something that we should all really look at to juxtapose.
Come on, juxtapose.
The fact. Yes, to juxtapose it to Texas being afraid to fall into the understanding, okay, that things change. Listen, the fact, and I mean, I see it as history has always been history. And honestly, this is unfortunately a part of our history that has always been embedded in our brains and in our heads. This will always be something that we remember. But there are so many other things that happen to fall under Black history, but it's not only Black history, it's history here in America that should be placed into your education system. I don't want to walk by and keep seeing Robert E. Lee. I don't want that. I don't want that at Stone Mountain. I don't feel good when I see that when I'm going marching up Stone or hiking up Stone Mountain. It doesn't make me feel good. All right. And it makes me feel like these people who stole history, actually, I feel like they took a lot of the accolades for a lot of Black people who did the work. And we praise these people for founding places and killing off people and all this other stuff when the land never belonged to them in the first place. But that's not even something I want to get into right here. But that should be in your schools, and critical race theory is something that everybody, the spookiness of it all. But it's something that's real and it's actual and factual. And the fact that we see things like this happening, the removal of monuments, which we did see happening a few years ago, and a rise of that happening. But I think particularly seeing this happen in Virginia, where we saw many people rise up to the occasion of white supremacy in the name of these monuments. And now to see this today, it makes a lot of sense. It makes me feel good. Makes me feel good.
Yeah, it definitely makes me feel good. Anytime white supremacy is laughed at and insulted and ground into dust is a good day for us. You mentioned Texas, Governor Greg Abbott. We got a clip of him talking about this new Texas abortion law, and he was asked a question about rape in cases of rape or incest. What this man said, well, nope. Let me just let you hear. Here's Republican Governor Greg Abbott from Texas talking about instances of rape as it pertains to a woman's right to choose. Let's take a listen in.
Governor, regarding the heartbeat bill, why force a rape or incest victim to carry a pregnancy to term?
It doesn't require that at all because obviously it provides at least 6 weeks for a person to be able to get an abortion. And so for one, it doesn't provide that. That said, however, let's make something very clear. Rape is a crime. And Texas will work tirelessly to make sure that we eliminate all rapists from the streets of Texas by aggressively going out and arresting them and prosecuting them and getting them off the streets.
It's not giving. It's not
supposed to give
that I feel
it's not
like
giving
that I can actually believe. It's not giving me believable. It's giving me confused. It's giving me, I don't know what I would do if, because if somebody raped somebody, they're still be pregnant. And how do we, if we're going with this abortion law, that's really not going to protect the person that was raped, but they're going to still have that child, but we're going to, it doesn't make any sense. It's not giving what he thought it was going to give. But then people behind him, his Amen Corner, they thought it was giving something. But they was the only one really understanding the confusion, and he wasn't saying nothing. That's why
they didn't understand it. They were just clapping. They was like, "Oh, he said something."
The time clap.
Because my question to Governor Abbott, my question to Governor Abbott is, if you can see into the future of who's going to be a rapist. I mean, we generally know the gender of all the rapists, but if you could see into the future and do that, then why ain't you done it yet? Right? He said we're going to stop all rapists. Jen Psaki, Rebecca, you had a wonderful way of describing her last week.
What I see?
Jen Psaki, it's going to come to me in a minute, but I want you to watch her response. I want you to watch her response to Governor Abbott, because it's kind of ridiculous to try to deflect like this, to say we're going to stop all. Go ahead.
Yeah, is it because these people are? What is it? Certified deflectors. What? We have the certified lover boys, right? like Drake, who claims that he is. But Ronald Isley and the Isley brothers had taken the throne yesterday. And now we have these certified liars, these certified deflecting white men. So they've been doing this. They always will do this. We couldn't even do a picture of them in different colors because they all look uniformed and the same. And they've been doing the same thing every single time, right? Well, and they deflect and people agree. Their deflection never makes any sense, and it never leads us anywhere but to more laws and rules that affect people, marginalized groups of people.
Well, Jen Psaki has something to say about it, the press secretary for Joe Biden. Let's take a listen to what she said.
Texas, the governor there was asked about the lack of an exception for rape or incest in the abortion law, and I don't know if you heard his comments, but he said his answer to that question was that Texas will work tirelessly to make sure that we eliminate rapists off the street. I'm just wondering if the White House has a response to that.
Well, if Governor Abbott has a means of eliminating all rapists or all rape from the United States, then there'd be bipartisan support for that. But given there has never in history of the country in the world been any leader who's ever been able to eliminate rapists from our streets, it's even more imperative. It's one of the many reasons, I should say, not the only reason, why women in Texas should have access to health care. So it does not change our objectives, does not change our commitment. The Department of Justice, the Attorney General announced a step on Monday. Our Department of Justice is continuing to look at legal options. Our Department of Health and Human Services is also continuing to look at all options, and the President has made clear that it's a priority to do everything we can to ensure women in Texas have access to health care.
Dang. Jen Psaki is my age. Her hair doesn't move. She just looks like she's. What happens when you get this position, and I'll get to what she said in a second, but what happens when you get this position is it ages you so much, and because you're sitting in this place and you can't really say what you want to. But I want her to have the energy of that woman who, when she was like, "Good morning, everybody," nobody said nothing. She was like, "Excuse me." So when you're asked questions about rape, it's not that it's if he. Come on, sis. I know you were trying to be kind of slick with it. You're saying and I get it. If he has the means to getting every rapist off the streets, that would be something that we would, follow. It would be a bipartisan thing, right? We would back it, right? But no, it's to say he ain't got the means. He ain't got the answers. So stop coming at me with that. Listen, as a woman, I should know. Listen, rapists are everywhere on the street, and we know that there will not be a way to control them. Why would you you're trying to control people's bodies with the false sense of hope that you're going to get rapist people off the streets. It's not happening. When you guys aren't trying to protect women, you're literally trying, like, do my vagina, my choice. And I want to say coochie, but Ben don't like that. Now, I really want you guys to understand, like, and I want Jen Psaki to really stand in that moment. And I know that she, as a woman, she wanted to stand in that moment. Women in Texas should be have access to health care. Women all over the United States should have access to health care. If you don't see what Texas is doing right now, every time they roll out with something, Florida and Georgia want to come behind it all, that sounds like a great thing to do. Every single time, these southern states are following suit. Everybody's getting affected. But all of the United States should have everybody. All women should have access to health care. Everybody should have access to health care. And I hate that this has to be a conversation, but damn, it ain't no bipartisan thing, because he's not going to put people on the streets to get all rapists. He could be behind him could be a lineup of rapists. A lineup of rapists.
A whole lineup.
Yes.
You can't just look at somebody and assume that they're rapists. You do not you're not God, my guy. You're just not. So that's what I'm saying.
He wants to be God over women's bodies.
Wants to be God over, but they are. They're making rules over. I cannot wrap my mind around that. I want to make rules over men's penises. I do. Like snip.
I am pro vasectomy. I believe that we should have a program in this country that gives every man who wants one, and quite frankly, since the politicians want to dominate women's bodies, I say we mandate that you get a vasectomy until you can afford to raise your own kids, right?
But people over here act crazy when they hear that. Like, no. Over a man's body, it's like, oh my gosh, the worst. But over a woman's body, we have that right.
It's like the man's body is just like everything.
A temple.
When women's body is literally the creation of life.
It's a tulip.
A tulip.
Tulip.
She's talking about Tulip. She's talking about Tulip from the show Preacher, that movie on AMC.
Tulip like the flower.
Tulip like the flower.
Lotus flower bomb. It will have men in the street looking crazy. It's a lot of power in there. We birth kids out of there. We don't birth kids out of there. You bleed out of there. So many things happen. Strength. I mean, like, no, seriously. See, that's
out of one place.
Men are all afraid of that. Men are afraid of that conversation, but still want to run your body. You're afraid of all of those things. Don't even want to hear what happens with it. But
Rebecca,
we'll voices over our body.
Rebecca, that's why they want control, because the tulip, thank you, has so much power. Now they trying to harness that power. You can't harness that. You can't harness that.
Can we be? I want to make sure I just throw this in here, because I've spent enough time in the church, not just the black church. I've been around some of these white evangelicals too, and I want to tell you that all these preachers who are out here yelling about why you shouldn't get an abortion, ask them how many they paid for. Just ask them that, and then that'll be the end of the conversation.
Because every morning,
did they hear what you just said, Dwayne?
Every morning I wake up and I hold on to my coochie, and I be like, I can't believe I have this much power.
Let's move on to the next time. It's the tulip, Rebecca.
I'm going to say what Dwayne said. Rebecca over there acting like she got the infinity gauntlet.
Yeah, I said
like with a snap of a finger.
Collecting the infinity stones.
All I'm gonna say is Rebecca's doing her very best effort to get season 2 canceled.
I am, but I wanted to say I gotta go. I have a meeting with my
those other folks,
other job, and so I have to. And I know it sucks.
Really
it's so
great
fun
clip
with
for
me.
you.
It's so fun with me. I know, but I have to go. So it is Thursday.
Okay. And it's 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. We're going to go to the after party. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here and doing everything that you do.
Yeah.
No, you're so welcome, you guys. I love you guys. Mean it. Don't do too much of a hard stop and just be like, all right, Rebecca's out of here.
Let's have fun now.
Yeah.
And now that Rebecca's gone, let the show begin.
Yeah, don't let it all hang out, okay?
Rebecca, we got a patron party tomorrow night. We'll talk to you about that later. Patreon.com/like it or not. Rebecca, we'll see you tomorrow.
I love you guys
at the patron party too.
That's right.
Bye, guys.
Hey, and we're going to take this time to close it out. Dwayne, if you don't mind, bring up the graphic of our brother Pascal, the Pascal Show. For those of you who are not, that's a scream close up on me. For those of you who are not members of Patreon, patreon.com/the BPD Show, or rather patreon.com/like it or not, go over right now to the Pascal Show on YouTube. He's streaming live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 a.m. Pacific. James, let's take it to the after party, man. It's in your hands.
Let's get it. Let's go. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much again for tuning in this morning. We will see y'all in the after party. Hey, and before you go, if you have not already, patreon.com/likeitandnot. Patreon.com/likeitandnot. Now is the time to get in there, get joined, because it's a patron party tomorrow. And the patron parties go down. So make sure that you go join today and get access to the patron party tomorrow night. Y'all want to listen? Good morning, y'all. Y'all have a good day. See y'all in the after party momentarily, y'all. Make sure you head over and go support the brother Pascal, all right, in the Pascal Show. Good morning, Justice. Good morning. Alicia, good morning. Absolute, good morning to you as well, too. Good morning, everybody. Make sure that y'all stay tuned.
I'm running too high, I need to cool me down. I'm flying so high, I don't see the ground. I'm running too high, I need to cool me down. I'm flying so high, I don't see the ground. Baby, you set my soul on fire.
Elizabeth Boswell, appreciate you. Singer Queen Warrior, good morning. Industrial Arts, good morning, sir.
And maybe we can't get any higher.
Tiger, yes, sir. Make sure that you do that, Tiger. Oh, before y'all go, Tiger sent me something. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I gotta get this read out because it was hilarious.
Whatever you do, my body's getting wild.